Good morning. Just wiping all the charts here from yesterday. And let's take a look. Looks like we had some steep downward movement in the overnight. Took back basically all of the rally from yesterday. Looks like that got a pretty hefty overshoot. Leading to a reversal. Same with the NQ, downtrend, overshoot, leads to a reversal. This one looks a little different, this uptrend at least. I guess it could be here, and that works as well. Trying to see which one I prefer. I think either one, it doesn't really matter because you have close outside and a new high, essentially. That compared to this. I think I like this better. I'm actually going to go back and check the ES and see if that looks similar. I think it could be probably like that. Starting off that swing makes a little bit more sense. And blow my nose there. Been getting some bad seasonal allergies. All right, RTY, pretty similar. Strong leg down. With an overshoot. This one could even be tighter. Looks like we do get the break a new low on the RTY. Now GC, always get a bunch of overnight movement here. Pretty simple there. Downtrend with break a new low. Then we get this uptrend, gets a break a new high. But prices continue upwards. So it makes sense to look for a separate trend. And it kind of feels like a spike in channel here. Something like that, as it goes outside a new high. Because then you get this strong push down. And that fits a lot better, because if we put this here, yeah, it gets some touches, but it doesn't really look great. It looks a lot better to just treat this as a spike and channel up. And then we can go ahead and widen this one out for the downtrend. Probably put it like right there. I'll try that and see how that ends up playing out, but I like it so far. YM. Strong move down. Same as the ES, the RTY, and the NQ basically. It's an overshoot. We get this uptrend here with a new high. Now we're moving down. So pretty simple on all these. Expecting some sort of short setup on ES in Q. So I would really like to see a second entry short on the ES in Q. RTY looks like it's basically already hit the new low here. Actually, it has hit the new low. I think it has. It doesn't really matter. It's basically hit a double bottom. So I'm not really looking for a short on RTY. And definitely looking for a short on GC. There's a possibility that this trend is actually just tighter like this. I'd say like the immediate trend is tighter. The immediate one is tighter, but I'm expecting that this larger one could come into play because this tight one is not sustainable. Prices are really far from the EMA. They're not going to keep holding this trend, which is not going to happen. And then yeah, I'm looking for shorts here too, but I'm a little bit more hesitant to look for shorts on YM because we already have a short-term downtrend that has a close outside a new low. It's not a big deal because I'm still expecting the break a new low for this larger downtrend, but it's still just something to consider. So this downtrend is holding more than I thought it would. I thought it would have, the tighter one, I thought it would have broken by now, to be honest. So we'll see what happens here. There's a few possibilities if we do end up getting a wider trend. Hold on. These allergies are killer. There's a few possibilities for the wider trend. If we did get something wider, we could get something like this, but this is probably too wide, and I would be pretty surprised, I think, if we end up getting something this wide here. We could get something off here, which could be like varying degrees of steepness. Something like that could be a possibility, but for now, just keeping this makes sense. So yeah, looking for a short on GC, obviously. Okay, it's not so much looking like 2 likes down now. Usually I don't draw retest trends, but I'm gonna go ahead and draw this one. Definitely hit the new low on R2Y. Just gonna keep expanding this. So I'm really eating my words here. Whenever I said earlier that this downtrend is not sustainable and it would not hold for very long, because it is holding. It's holding really well. And it's not at all what I would have expected to see. So still just looking for shorts on the ES. Possible shorts on NQ, this is looking a little bit weaker. Not looking for shorts anymore on RTY now that the downtrend is played out. Shorts on GC. And shorts on YM. So pretty straightforward. We have about 15 minutes until the open at 9:30. At least on Eastern time. I'm on Eastern time. Looks like we have a closeout side and new low for this downtrend. But prices weren't even able to come back to the EMA, so I might still be willing to look for some shorts here, but gonna have to be more hesitant. There is the possibility, as I've been saying, that there is a wider downtrend here potentially. And I would not at all be surprised if something like that ends up being correct. I don't know for sure, but it could be. So we'll find out here if this downtrend is correct, the wider one. And if it is, then I might still be willing to take some shorts. But otherwise, then this downtrend already has a close outside and new low. This one's pretty steep though. Feels like there's a decent down bias going on. So we will see. Drinking some tea this morning. I don't think it's possible to pull this that much in. Not quite. And we're about 10 minutes from the open. And we are continuing down, even though this has a break and new low. So I'm thinking that some sort of wider downtrend is probably in play. I guess it could just be going sideways. We'll see. I usually don't draw retest trends, but again, I'll draw this one just to see whether it ends up holding or not. And we're just a few minutes away from 9:30. All right, and it is 9:30. Looks like we're headed towards the break a new low. Looks like this trend is not the correct one. We have a break a new low here. Not looking for any more shorts, at least for the time being. GC, I believe, is in a larger downtrend, most likely. Could just be this tight one. That could be just a break a new low there, but I don't know. Prices are still heading lower, so we'll see. YM, looks like it's in this secondary channel, looking for the break a new low of this channel here. Looks like we're almost there. We've almost reached the close outside new low for this downtrend as well. Looks like we've basically hit a break a new low on YM. I'm about to do the same on ES, so there's going to be a period of not really looking for any trades, to be honest, because everything's going to be played out. This is played out, so nothing to really do here for a moment. GC, there's still a possibility, assuming this downtrend holds. YM, I believe we have almost hit a break new low there, so we could still look for a entry, but also you can see we've basically created a double bottom. On ES, very close to a break a new low. And again, if there's a really good setup here, I still might be willing to take it, but for the most part, it's looking like we're gonna have to pause looking for shorts here in a moment. This one's already played out. So there's possible uptrend. All right, I'm gonna get rid of this wider trend and say this is just the break and new low of this tighter one. There's still the possibility that the wider trend is somewhere out here. So if we do get like some strong rejection, then maybe. But we'll just have to see if we turn down here. Getting a pretty strong move up through the EMA. So I think what's gonna happen is this is probably counting as a new low. If prices continue up. Same with the ES. That's a strong push through the EMA. Didn't quite reach it on the NQ. I mean, we didn't reach it on ES, so it's not quite the new low, but it's very clearly like a double bottom, triple test type of deal, which can count. NQ didn't quite reach down there. You can see, didn't quite get there, but it's a very strong looking push up reversal. I would definitely look for some longs on the ES and the NQ. Like if we came back and created a second entry long on either one of these, second entry long off the EMA, that would be very, very interesting. I think there's a possibility that we end up going into some sort of range, but definitely not proven at this point. GC, same deal. I would definitely take a second entry long off the EMA. YM, not so much, not yet. It's not a strong enough push up. I think you could easily draw this like this and say that this already has a close outside and new high. Oops. It's looking like this is actually probably going to be a little bit wider. If we start from there and keep it a little bit wider, it's definitely a possibility. Could get a second entry long here. Got a new high in the short-term uptrend, so not really looking for anything on ES as far as longs go, at least not at the moment. Let's actually bring this in a little bit tighter. think really right now the question is, okay, if we got a second entry long here, would I take that? I'm thinking the answer is no, but I'm unsure. I don't know if we'll even get a second entry long. It looks like we might just head up. GC is all over the place, per usual. My big concern with taking a long here would be that this was such a strong down move, and it feels like it could be too early to be taking a long. It's not like this up move was really that strong. Closing back through the EMA. Here's a second entry long, looking for a break, a new high. Everything's played out to the opposite side. It's a possibility. I'm going to come back to it. See if there's anything else coming on. Nope, nope, nope. What's the ATR? 1.8. Okay, it's actually looking like a really, really strong bar. I might take that. Bars, not quite there. Close outside a new high on GC. Nothing much to see anywhere else. Back to the RTY. Could get a solid bar here. At this point, I would have expected prices to stay above the EMA. And it looks like we might get some continued down action. We could end up seeing a spike in channel, because that was a really strong down move beforehand. This is like super, super early to draw this, and like I would say, decent chance that it's just wrong. But if prices continue down, this would be my best bet. Clear new high on incur. And let's see what happens here. Are we going to head towards the break a new high for this shorter term uptrend, or are we going to hold what could be a spike in channel here? Let's find out. Oops. So, still not sure. We'll see in just a second. It's looking like the spike in channel is incorrect, and we're going to head towards the close outside a new high for the shorter term trend here. So it's looking like we're going to get a break a new high for this. Some tight congestion here. And what looks like two larger legs up on incur. So like if you look at it as like one sharp leg down, two legs up. I'll be interested to see if we get another move down. We could get something on ES as well. Doesn't quite look the same though. But if you went to a larger, like if you went to a much bigger time frame, you would definitely see one strong leg down and then two kind of slower legs up. And we've hit the break and new high on RTY. So not much going on, not really anything that I can foresee taking, at least in the near future. Mostly everything's played out at this point. Everything's played out on GC. Everything's played out here. It's looking pretty sideways. Looking pretty sideways in range like. I don't know if this is correct, but I at least want to throw it on there and see. And the same with the ES. We've been looking like we're kind of range like here. Again, I don't know if this range is correct or not, but I think it's a solid possibility at this point. Looks like first you're just going to push right through what could be there's resistance. And if so, then I might even explore some sort of wider trend. Something like we're seeing potentially on RTY. Don't know if this wider trend is correct, but if prices do continue higher, then I'll look to potentially play that. I'm willing to draw it wider right off the bat because everything's played out to the opposite side. So all the downtrends have played out. So I'm expecting a wider reversal to the long side. Looks like this is more likely that this was not a very convincing break and new high with all this sideways action, and then you get the more convincing one here. Looks like that leg back is probably not going to be useful. And this is not looking like it's going to be a range. It's tempting to draw something like this, but chances are it's not going to be correct. If anything, it's looking more and more like this would be potential spike in channel. I'm liking the look of a potential spike in channel here. It doesn't look so good on the incur. It's a possibility though. I'm going to redraw this downtrend. So now let's close that side and new low. So this is kind of a tricky spot. Like the question basically on RTY is, do I trust that this uptrend is correct and then it's not just 2 legs up and take the second entry long here? It's looking like the signal bar is going to be too big to do that anyways. But that's a tricky spot for sure. It's looking to me like you have a separate uptrend going on YM. There could be a wider one, something like this. This actually might be more, well, a little better to go ahead and start with that. See what happens there. If we do push through the channel line, then I might bring it in a little bit tighter. So yeah, regardless, that signal bar is just way too big. You're just way too far away from the EMA at that point. Like if the signal bar had ended like there, maybe. I can tell you this range is probably not correct. Let's go ahead and take that off. Definitely a slower day today. Not a bunch of volume. I can imagine going back to just trading the ES chart after trading 5 of them, because like I think this is slow, but also I'm seeing 5 times the number of bars as whenever I was just looking at the ES. So I'm sure I would think that this is especially slow if I was just trading the ES. Could be a little bit tighter. Maybe it looks something like that. And that would make sense. Let's go ahead and get rid of that new high and these shorter term trends so we can just see what's going on here on the larger one. Okay, so I think that this wider trend is most likely incorrect on YM. And let's pull in something like this. And the reason I'm okay with doing this, because this uptrend played out, and then you kind of get this sideways action where, I mean, I'm sure you could, if you wanted to, you could draw like a short-term downtrend with a close outside and new low. So it's completely acceptable for me to draw a separate trend here. It's looking like on NQ, we're gearing up for a second entry long. The thing is, it's still kind of within this short-term downtrend here. And this spike in channel wasn't really very strong and didn't stay intact for very long. So I'm definitely not willing to take a second entry long there. All right. Switching this up. I'm gonna go ahead and start this downtrend from here. Looks like this is a separate downtrend. Sometimes after an uptrend, or really any trend plays out, you'll get like an extra lag before the true trend starts. So like in this case, uptrend played out, you get another leg that like attempts to go higher and then turn around into what's looking like it's going to be the downtrend. It looks like we're going to overshoot this. Oops. Let's go ahead and put that on there. So this is looking really strong on YM and possibly a little bit too strong. We'll see how prices end up playing out, but for the time being, calling that an overshoot. I really like the spike in channel on ES. This fits very, very well. So if we come back and get a second entry long, we have confluence between the EMA and this trend line. So that's like picture perfect there if we did get a nice, good pattern off that. It looks like we're going to get the closeout side and new high on the incur chart. That's what it's looking like to me. I can go ahead and get rid of this one. I mean, it could stay, it could not, doesn't really matter. All right, so I've been doing my work in 1 hour blocks just to keep track of like how I'm doing, and the timer just went off there. So I'm gonna fill out basically after each hour of work that I've been doing. I've just been filling out a little Google form on like what I was doing and how efficient I'm being, and it's actually pretty cool. I did this for I don't know, a few weeks, for the past like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I just fed all the information that I tracked into ChatGPT and just said, hey, like what can I improve, and it gave me some good steps and good things to improve. So it's very cool. What did I do? I traded. How focused was I? I was a 5. I was fully engaged in deep work mode. I gave myself that score because I was fully into trading, didn't have mind wandering very much, and no distractions. There's nothing I can do to improve, not that I can think of. And did I work on the most high leverage thing possible? I would say yes. Great. Looks like we have an overshoot on R2I. And a break of this downtrend on GC. The overshoot continues here. Makes me think this could just be a little wider. So if we kind of match that up at the midline here with where the channel line used to be, then we get something that looks like this. And it looks like prices are just going to continue up. Even more than that. All right, so it's looking like, even though I really liked that spike in channel, at this point, prices are really taking off on the ES, and so I'm going to switch this channel to something like this. Which fits a little bit better. Let's go ahead and do the same on the NQ. Looks like we're already basically there on RTY. And then really this just looks like it's probably looks like this. because that downtrend didn't end up holding. So it's probably just this downtrend break, new low. And now we get a strong move up. And so we have to say, okay, what's going on here? It's a weird one. I mean, we're basically just going straight up. So you could clearly draw a trend like this, but that doesn't really explain everything else of what's going on. So I think it makes the most sense to have a trend here. Don't know exactly where it is. We'll have to see how prices play out because this could just be a big overshoot. So at this point on the ES, I'm thinking, okay, I don't really like this uptrend very much. It's not very confirmed. We skipped a lot of price action here. Like, look at that. We skipped so many swings. But clearly, if we change this to a spiking channel, like I was playing here, and I thought looked pretty good, well, then we have a massive overshoot. And, well, this could be correct. Then this still could be correct. I think that the steeper option is preferable right now. I think it holds prices a little bit better, but we'll have to see what happens whenever prices come back. What I was going to say, though, is regardless of what happens here, we're clearly in a strong uptrend. We're pulling away from the EMA. The EMA is clearly pointing up. So even though I don't exactly know where the uptrend is, there's a strong chance that I'm going to be willing to take a long entry no matter what. That's the same with the NQ. Even though I don't exactly know where, well, you know, this is actually a little different because this could be just a spike in channel with a break and new high. So like this could just look like this. Or if prices continue upwards, then we could have a wider channel like this. So it's a little bit different. There's two kind of options there. And this is pretty plainly, I think, an overshoot until proven otherwise. And this is looking like a range. Price is flip-flopping the EMA a lot. It's not even really worth trying to just decide or figure out the trends and such. Just kind of fitting everything in retrospect. So pretty much everything's pretty straightforward here. Just looking for some long entries, except for on GC, just looks like a range to me. A range with the possibility of this just being a larger downtrend, I will say. And I'm not actually sure if this channel looks like this or the one that I was initially playing, which was the spike in channel, which I like a lot better on this side here. So it could easily be that, but it's like I was saying earlier, I don't think it really matters which one I play at this point because we're just clearly in an uptrend. The EMA is clearly pointing higher. Everything's holding. This is just a strong uptrend. So at this point, I mean, really any long entry is pretty solid here. Looks like we're getting some sort of like little micro range, but we have a potential for a first entry, second entry long off the EMA. So I would definitely like to take that if that ends up being a thing. Same with the NQ. You know, I don't exactly know what the uptrend looks like. It could just be the small spike in channel with a break in new high, which could be a little bit concerning there. But for the most part, we're in an uptrend. And so I'm looking for longs. Same goes with RTY. I was looking at this as an overshoot, but prices aren't acting like an overshoot, so I'm going to expand this trend out and just keep playing it. Ooh. I'm trading till 11 o'clock a.m. I think that's what I'm going to be doing moving forwards. It just kind of makes more sense with my schedule here. There's a potential to just see this as, assuming prices head down here and you get a good signal bar off the EMA, as 2 legs down and a triple test. I lose those. I lose those trades pretty often, even though they seem like pretty easy trades. Well, at least we'll see what the trend line, if this trend line's correct here. We'll see what it actually looks like. But yeah, if we get a good signal bar here, even though it looks like 2 legs down because you have like 1 leg break, second leg down, I lose those a lot. I'd rather wait on a higher low. I know that I don't do very well with those. This, on the other hand, looks like 2 legs down. I would definitely be interested in a higher low there. So there's a good signal bar. Again, maybe you see this as like a failed breakout plus the 2 legs down and being off a possible trend line. I mean, it has a lot of merit, but I've just lost so many of those trades. I would rather wait on a higher low. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this in a little bit. Just kind of make that fit a little better here. And let's go ahead and get rid of this spiking channel that I was initially playing, because it really looks like this is the one that's in play now. And really taking off, so. Like I said, this trade has a lot of merit, but I just lose those a lot. I've lost them a lot. If it was a second entry, I would have done it. The way that I see it is there's just so many trades all the time, and I'd rather just wait on the ones that I'm really confident in and that like I know I have an edge in. So I just kind of wait on that, and I'm okay with waiting longer, and I'm okay with missing trades. It doesn't really bother me. There are trades all over this chart. I mean, even if you're just looking at the ES, there are trades everywhere. I mean, you know, some people would probably say count this as a high, first entry, second entry, it's a strong trend, so take that. But for me, it's, you know, it's not touching the EMA, signal bar is not perfect, and I mean, it's just not my trade. And you might trade completely different than I do. That's okay. At least for me, it seems like not most days, but a lot of days I'll just take no trades. Like there'll be like no trades for a stretch of like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. And then there'll be one day where there's like 2 or 3 trades. It'll make up like, you know, the whole week's worth of trades. But I think I've been averaging like two or 3 trades a week, roughly. I think if I looked back at it, something like that. So I've taken like 50 or so trades in the past 5 months. But in those 5 months, I haven't been trading some weeks. So it's realistically probably like 3 or 4 trades a week if I was trading every day of the week. Which is not very many to most people, I guess. I'm not sure how many I've taken this week. I think I took like 3 one day this week, so maybe like 3 or 4. And it definitely looks like the spiking channel is correct. Can't really argue with that. Just adding up. It's a pretty easy day to read so far. Not to say that I've done a perfect job, but it's pretty simple. I do want to mark the overnight high here to see if prices react off this level, because I have a feeling that we might get some reaction, or if we don't, that'll at least be telling. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. Guessing prices are going to get up there for pretty much all of these. In fact, we've already crossed it. Let's see, we already crossed it on YM. Prices didn't even blink an eye, just kept going up. So it's a pretty strong trend. On all of these, it's a pretty strong trend. Except for GC, that is. Hoping there will be at least one solid long setup. Because at least for me, my highest win rate, I was checking the other day, actually like 2 days ago, like by far and away that the highest win rate that I have is just whenever prices are in a strong trend. It's just, I mean, if you're in a strong trend and you're like strong uptrend and I'm buying, then it's kind of hard to mess up. Maybe not hard to mess up, but like, I don't know, the odds are very highly in your favor. Even if you like kind of buy at the wrong time, sometimes you can just still end up being right. But you just don't get strong trends all the time, though. I thought about saying, well, okay, since that's the case, since my highest win rate is just in strong trends, maybe I'll only take those trades. But I mean, they just don't happen very often, and I do have positive, I don't know, positive win rate, I guess, or positive expectancy, I don't know, in some other scenarios as well. So, I mean, as long as it's positive, it's good, just not as positive as a strong trend for me. I don't know if that made any sense. But yeah, this is looking really strong. It doesn't look like the overnight high is going to really do anything, at least on ES. It doesn't look like prices are really I mean, it's too early to say, but it doesn't look like prices are going to reject off of that. Just looking for any long setups on the YM, on the ES, and on the NQ. Just waiting for prices to pull back, I guess on the RTY as well. Just waiting for prices to pull back to the EMA or the trend line and looking for a long setup. That's it. And GC is just kind of, it's just in a range. I think this could be a little wider, or it could be tighter. I think given that we're in a range, let's go ahead and keep it tighter. Keep it tight and say that's close outside. So just looking for long setups, long setups. And I'm on for another half an hour, so hopefully within that half an hour, we'll get at least one. So of course, we are finding a little bit of rejection off the overnight highs. I don't think that I'm really going to pay much attention to it, depending on how price is set up. At this point, like if we do get a strong setup, like we've been going up and up and up, and the EMA has been holding this entire time, I'm not just going to like completely throw anything out the window because we've reached this overnight high. It's the same on the NQ. It's just not worth, it's not, I don't know, can't just throw it out the window yet. Honestly, I don't even know why I'm marking the new lows and new highs in here. It's just a range. There's no real point until we break out. Okay, so we're getting the pullback on basically all of these. So there's a potential setup. We have a new high, first entry, break of the short-term downtrend. So if we got a second entry long off the EMA, very strong chance that I'll take that. On the NQ, it still looks like we're within this short-term downtrend. So if we draw this short-term downtrend here, I think we're still within that. RTY still within the short-term downtrend as well, but we're at least coming back to the EMA, so we have a pullback, and we might get some sort of setup. So pretty much everything's looking pretty interesting here. Let's see what the ATR is, 3.5, 175, trade with 3 contracts. So if we do get a good signal bar here, it's a strong chance I'll be willing to take this second entry long. 3 contracts. Let's see what happens. Okay, doji bar below the EMA. We're off the trend line and the EMA. So nothing I can do there. But pretty much everything, pretty much all the charts are looking like we could get this potential setup here. Except for GC, that is. So we already have a first entry, second entry long, no good signal bar there. So I'm looking for a higher low. Still potentially looking for a second entry long on incur. On R2I, we're still within the short-term downtrend, and YM, we're not quite back to the EMA, but you do have a first entry and what's looking like a potential second entry off the potential trend line. But I'm waiting till price to come back to the EMA there. Looking for a higher low, looking for a second entry, looking for a second entry, and looking for a second entry. So we're getting closer to what I might consider taking a trade at, which is the EMA. Looking unlikely that we'll get a higher low on the ES. Looks like this trend is about to break here, if it hasn't already. Here we have a first entry, looking like we might get a second entry on the NQ. The ATR is about 20, so we'll be taking this about 2 contracts. So pretty low ATR on NQ. We still have a leg working back on R2I. YM is not quite at the EMA, so nothing that I'm going to do there, even though we're close to creating a second entry long off what could be the trend line. Not at the EMA, so nothing that I can do there. Though it would be a little tempting, assuming there's a good signal bar. Can we have a first entry? Break lower. This bar has to be at least equal to the other one, to the one before it, in order for me to be interested in that. Just looking sideways on the ES, so chances are not going to be a setup there, if I were to guess. Looks like we're going to get a first entry here. So it's a pretty solid bar, but again, we're not at the EMA. So yeah, I'm not willing to take this second entry, even if we break higher there. It's not for me. Looks like we're going to continue working lower. So it's fine with me. We've broken the uptrend, so I'm looking for a break and new high of this uptrend. We have one leg down here. We have a break of this leg. Probably a break of this leg. We could draw it out like this a little bit and say it's still intact, but we'll see how prices play out here. Okay, first entry. Prices broke lower there. Just looking congestive. We have some stacked bars, dojis. Short-term downtrend has a closeout side, 2 legs to a new low. So I'm looking for a higher low or failed second entry. Same here, we have a first entry, looking like we're going to get a second entry, but at this point, even if prices closed above the EMA, they're just closing through the EMA and hardly closing through the EMA, so I want a higher low above the EMA or a failed second entry long. So I think that could be a possibility because it's a second entry long. Technically, it's closing at the EMA, but you opened all the way down here and you closed all the way up here, so barely close to the EMA. I want a higher low or a failed second entry there. Pushing above the EMA, so I would like to see a higher low above the EMA. I'm doubting that a failed second entry is going to happen because just, I don't know, it's not really enough space. It looks like we are really moving higher here, so again, this is a possibility for the second entry long. The reason I didn't want to take this is because we barely closed through the EMA here. I thought there's a chance that we rejected off that. And we have a first entry. So I would say, really, this is a short-term downtrend with a closeout side and new low. there. So I would look for a higher low, which would also create a second entry long on R2I. There's really no chance to enter on YM. And looks like we're just going to head straight to the break and new high for the ES. So uptrend, close outside, and we've basically already headed to the new high. So it's not looking like there's a chance to enter on the ES. At least it's unlikely. NQ looking unlikely. R2Y still possible. YM still possible. R2Y is looking the best. The short-term downtrend getting a close outside new low. Looking for a higher low above the EMA. ATR is 2.27, so 2.3 basically. So I would take this with 5 contracts, 5 or 6. And looks like we're heading towards the break and new high for NQ without a chance to enter there, unless you entered on this one, which is a possibility. Second entry long. It's a good signal bar. Close above the EMA, so 100% that's possible entry, but explained why I wasn't really interested in that. I was hoping for a higher low here. I don't know if it's going to set up how I wanted it to. It's not really looking like it. Okay, there is a possibility that we get a solid higher low. How many contracts did I say on this? 2.3, I think I said 5. Let's see. I'm doubting that this one's going to turn around, but if you did get a really strong turnaround on this bar. Yeah, no. I think this really just looks like this. I think this trend is still in play. Okay, there's the potential for a failed second entry. Right now you have, well, I guess it would be a failed second entry and a higher low after a second entry because you have a new high. First entry, break lower. Looks like price is about to break higher, so second entry. There's a possibility for a higher low, which would also be a failed second entry short. I'm sure that's like the most annoying thing ever, whenever I like pop my fingers or snap my neck or whatever. So no good signal bar on R2Y. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, the at least the trend's still in play on YM and RTY. So there's still a possibility to take an entry, but I was hoping that in that pullback, I mean, there's no real setup on the ES. I was hoping in that pullback there would be some sort of setup to go long there. On NQ, there was the one that I thought was a little bit too aggressive. RTY, there's no setup to go long. And YM, same deal, no setup to go long, but I was hoping on at least one of those that there would be. Doesn't look like the overnight high is really doing anything there. Just gonna go ahead and remove it. It does look like it's coming into play on NQ though. Again, we have a 1, 2, 3 tests there, so it could be. So I'm just on for 15 more minutes. There is the potential for an entry on RTY and YM. Those are the two that I'm really looking at. The ES and the NQ, the uptrend has already played out. So not really looking for any longs there. If we got a strong spike down and then a short, maybe there's an entry there for the ES and the NQ. As far as the RTY and the YM go, the uptrend is still in play, so there's a lot higher of a chance of there being a trade. And GC, we were just kind of in this range. Looks like we're breaking out of the range now. We are breaking out of this. Tempting to say, okay, maybe that's a second leg up, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's a separate trend. But I'm not really looking for anything on GC. I don't really trade ranges. I'm not very good at it. And so I just let them be. I mainly just trade the trends. If there's a range that's like a part of a trend, then I'll consider that. But like just trading like a pure range like this, not so much. It's not really, just not good at it. It's kind of crazy how the market goes through cycles. Like I feel like there are some like hyper specific scenarios that I used to see a lot more often, and that'll probably come back. Like I feel like I used to see places like this where there's a range and then there's a breakout and then there's like 2 legs back to test the range. I swear I used to see that all the time. I don't think I've seen that in a while. Another one that I thought that I would see more often and that I don't see very often is a setup with a failed second entry and a trend. So like right here we have kind of close to that. There's a new low here, first entry, second entry failure in a trend, like a trend continuation failure. I feel like I used to see that a lot more often, but I haven't taken one of those in a very long time, like months. I've mainly just been taking like second entries, I think. It's actually a good question. I'm going to drop that down to see what entry I'm taking most nowadays. But I bet you it's second entries. I feel like I see a lot of like higher low or lower high entries after like 2 legs back as well, which I really like that one. So I'm glad that one comes around more often. It looks like this trend's about to roll over. It would be, I think it's tempting to take a second entry here, and maybe I will, because you have a new high, first entry. If this bar ends bearish and you get a bullish bar off the EMA, I think it would be super tempting to take a trade there. But at this point, like it really looks to me like prices are rolling over. Like we just made a double top and a lower high here after coming off the trend line. It's kind of odd. But not just that though. Sometimes, I don't know exactly how to describe this. Whenever prices start looking like this, I don't know, like kind of this angle, it usually means that the trend is about to roll over. Could get a second entry long on YM. It's not a very strong leg back. First entry, second entry. What's the ATR here? 25. So I'd take this with 5 contracts. That's definitely a possibility. Because you have a first entry, second entry, short-term downtrend played out. Looking for a breaking new high of this uptrend off the EMA. Bar is kind of on stilts. I would prefer this. I would really actually prefer this bar to end bearish and then see a bar that's like closer to the EMA. I might take that. I'm good. I'm okay. That could be good. It could be alright. I have 2 concerns with this one. First concern, this correction is like super, super small. Like tiny. Second, this wick just like came back and tapped the EMA. And then third, that the signal bar didn't close super strong. So yeah, I'm not gonna take that. Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured this trend was about to roll over. And to be honest, that's not really a leg back. This is like just sideways action. Okay. So I said I wasn't interested in anything on GC, but actually, like if we find some rejection, and I was just saying that that we don't get the setup very often. I was just saying that we don't get the setup where there's a breakout and then prices come back with 2 legs back to a support or resistance level. But there's a possibility that's exactly the setup that we get here. And I've messed that one up a lot, so I'm gonna have to be careful with it, assuming there is one. And this setup, these types of setups have messed me up a lot too, because it like on a micro scale, it looks pretty good. Like you have what looks like a perfect short-term downtrend with a closeout side and a new low off the EMA. But then like whenever you zoom out, you just have to think like, okay, well, like these 2 legs back are just so small in comparison to this move up, and it doesn't feel like it's proportional, I guess. So I've messed those ones up a lot because it just like, it looks so straightforward, but it's just not. And so that's a second entry. But yeah, I'm not taking that either. I mean, maybe I'm being too conservative today. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think that that's worth taking. Again, I think you look at this short-term downtrend, break new low, but we pushed through the EMA pretty strongly. We just broke this uptrend. It's barely closing through the EMA. It's entirely possible I'm just being too conservative today. Now I would consider a higher low, like still, right here. And I would consider a higher low on the YM as well, but I don't think that that's what we're gonna get. I think honestly, this downtrend is probably wider. It's probably like that. Okay, we're actually getting some pretty strong rejection off the old resistance that's now holding a support. So like if we came back and we got a strong, second entry off the EMA, I might actually take that on GC. Yeah, this is kind of what I pictured would happen here. I'd still consider a higher low on R2Y. First entry, second entry, could be a higher low. Even though I didn't like the second entry here, I could still like the higher low. I would definitely consider a second entry on GC, but it looks like prices are just going to head towards the close outside new high of this uptrend. So, I mean, I'm really only on for a few more minutes. If there was something that was like really, really close to setting up, then maybe I would hang out for a little longer. Like maybe I'd hang out to see if this higher low happens, assuming it doesn't in the next 3 minutes that I'm on. But it's looking like GC is probably out of the question. We're headed towards a new high there. It's probably going to happen. Even if you came back and created the second entry long, at this point, we've moved too far. So it's really just at this point, just the R2I. And it doesn't look like this is going to set up either though. And I'm wondering if that's a break or not. I mean, it could be, it could just keep widening this out a little bit and say, okay, maybe that's not a break. But at that point, like, okay, well, we didn't touch the trend line at all through here, so that doesn't really make sense. I'd much prefer it to look like this, but then it doesn't feel like a very strong close outside, so it's possible this uptrend's still in play. It's possible it's not. But I don't really like that being a break. It doesn't look very climactic. So maybe we'll get some more sideways action. I wouldn't be surprised if we get like some range-like action that breaks this trend, and then we move towards a new high. And there we go. Yeah, see? No chance to enter there, unfortunately. It's looking like that's probably it. I don't think we're going to get the higher low. Even if we do, I don't know if I'm interested in that. Well, let's see. We'll watch this. Or I'll watch this. So it's a possibility. First entry, second entry, kind of push above the EMA, higher low. I don't know, feels really range-like though. Doesn't feel great. What is the ATR? It's 2.3, just in case we get something that's solid. At least gonna be ready for it. Yeah, no. I'm highly doubting that we're gonna get a good entry here. That's a possibility. It's a higher low. Higher low after second entry. Still looking for possibly the break a new high of this uptrend, but small doji bar, it doesn't feel right. Again, I could be being too conservative today. I don't know. But anyway, it's 11 o'clock, so I'm going to end it there, and I will see you guys tomorrow.